Hey guys, I'm Nick.
And I'm Ant.
And we're the New Gays.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
And we're the Old Gays.
And this is Old Gays, New Gays.
This is the podcast where we compare life through the lenses of two generations of LGBT couples.
And today's topic, I'm going to sing this one. No, okay. So today's topic is gay pulp culture. Yeah. So movies, singers, media, but gay. And also I'm really interested in seeing how different it was for your generation versus ours. So I think actually to start off the podcast, it'd be so cool to each go around and go, what was our first kind of like...
Gay awakening?
No, not gay awakening. Like our first major piece of gay media.
Oh yeah, what was the one with the guy with the peach and Timothy Chalamet when he was younger?
That was hot.
That wasn't. I hope that wasn't your first.
No,
that was
so
recently.
Should we go around?
Call Me By Your Name.
No,
that was good.
Call Me By Your Name. That was genuinely my first one.
Wow.
Really?
I knew nothing about being
Weren't you already
gay
married
before
by
I
then?
met Nick.
That was like
No, that was
Okay, see,
2017.
that's what I wanted to
That
get
was
to,
like
the
last
generational
year.
gap.
Yeah.
No, babe.
Yeah, babe, because before
Timothy's like 25 now. That was he was 17
It was
and
about
that.
4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Before I came out and met Nick, I had no idea what a top and bottom was.
You guys are so young.
Yeah.
That wasn't a great first, I think. Like, it's a beautiful movie, but I don't think it's like...
All right, we're not judging. We're not judging.
It's
But
the
I can
best I
understand you
can do.
I can understand you relating to that because of your whole soggy biscuit story. But that was another episode.
Yeah, it's the peach. It's the peach.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we know what ants was. All right, guys. Would you want to go and just say what your first was?
The one that sticks out for me that really had an impact was probably Boy George.
Okay.
Yeah, he was very visible, very honest on who he was. He was honest about talking about his sexuality, all that sort of stuff. And he was, he dressed differently and he made a statement and he was a huge supporter and ally of the gays. So Boy George probably had a...
I didn't actually know who he was until I moved to London. So for those that might not know who he is, that are North American,
For the new
explain
gays.
for the new gays.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Everybody my age in America knew who Boy George was.
Okay, then
this
the new
is a
gays.
generational
New
thing.
gays, yeah. For the new gays.
Well, look, he was a pop artist, yeah. He was a
Okay.
pop
So a
artist that
singer.
came with a very different look at it. It was almost like David Bowie-ish.
It was the Madonna
like.
era.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very queer.
He came out as bi first, but he was one of the first people to come out and talk about open sexuality in that era. He came out as bi because... I don't know why, but later on he came out as fully gay.
I think that's a common thing. Nick came out as bi.
I was going to say it.
Even the way he dressed and all that sort of stuff was very different. He had, locks. He'd do his clothing. It was just
Well, he wore
really, really
dresses.
different. He wore dresses.
Okay.
They were
Yeah.
more like caftans, but it was supposed to be a dress.
What year was did he become
It was the early
big?
80s.
Yeah, it was
80s.
Early 80s. Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he was like younger than that. Like
Yeah.
I've because me and Ant got a book from him basically. Like his publishing team sent us a Boy George
did they?
book.
Yeah.
And he looked young on the cover. I don't know, but
Well, he was young back then in the early
Yeah.
80s, but that's when I think he came out with his first album.
yeah. Who's your first piece of
what?
Yeah. Gay media. Sorry.
Yeah. The piece that I most identified with first, that was a gay movie, was probably Philadelphia Story, and there were ones before Philadelphia Story because that didn't come out till 1991, I think it was. But it was for some reason as a young kid, and I wasn't that young at that point, but seeing a gay couple struggle through their relationship and the disease and portrayed as a really honest gay couple is not something you saw in media very often, and if it really at all. And the movie was about him struggling with his legal case on AIDS, but the backstory in it, which was a more important story for me, was seeing Antonio Banderas Jr. as his partner struggle to take care of him legally both, and also in the situation that was happening. And I remember I cried so hard when I saw that film because I thought, it was just lovely to see a gay couple, but it was also tragic that, this was the way. And I feel like Downer Debbie here. I always bring up, the 80s and AIDS. I do. But it was so transformational for us. And the truth was, AIDS gave permission for the media, stars and movies to start talking about gay people in real terms. It had a negative side. They hated, they called it a gay disease. They hated the gays, everything. But it also, for the first time, allowed people to stand up and champion gays. And so we had, Elizabeth Taylor, and we had Madonna, and we had, a bunch of female, mostly at the time, people standing up for gay people, and media started coming out supporting gays and gay relationships and doing well in mainstream media. So for me, Philadelphia Story was kind of my inkling, not just into being a gay man, but seeing gay relationships and couples, and I absolutely loved that.
And they did have, that was one of the first movies that they did have two straight, good-looking guys doing the parts of gays, and they did absolutely fantastic.
So I only recently watched this movie because my uncles showed me, but also even my mom, who's straight, said, "Oh my God, you have to watch this."
Yeah.
But so for all the new gays out there listening or watching, go watch it. It's amazing. But I'm gonna back up on that and my first ever piece of gay media was the first ever gay film where it's written and directed and filmed just like any rom-com for straights.
Yeah.
So this movie is called Love, Simon, and it came out, I think it was 2016 or 15, and that's when I had just came out and this movie came out as well. And
that's 2019.
At the time, no, 2016, dude. And at the time when it came out, there was no movie prior to that was just a regular movie, but the main couple that are falling in love are gays. Because there are all these movies that gays are dying of AIDS or they're drag queens, or so there was no movie until this one. So when I watched it and I just come out, I was like, this is so nice, because I was growing up watching rom-coms of always being two straights. So when I watched Left Simon, that was like, oh my God, this is my gay awakening. This is amazing. And that was my first ever piece of like gay media that was like, this is amazing.
I don't recall them. Right?
Yeah,
should watch it. Yeah,
brilliant.
Should watch it. It's really good. And at the time it was the first ever, like, well, maybe I could be wrong by saying first, but at least first ever big movie that
did really well.
Everyone talked about, that was in theaters.
And I feel like you mentioned this in the past, but media does have a way of stereotyping gays as it's all about sex. It's very negative. Is that a common consensus in media?
Well, look, I think the media landscape, gay representation in the media world today is completely different than when we were growing up. I mean, when we were young kids, it was absent purely, and the only time you ever saw it was camp, right, and making fun of gays. And then after Stonewall's, when they first started singers started kind of coming out, and they started making some gay movies that did quite well. They weren't huge feature films, but they did well. But it wasn't until really, weirdly enough, after the AIDS crisis that people really started stepping up for the gay community. And that's when it became fashionable almost in the pop industry to be supporting gay people with your little red ribbon and rainbows. Movies started making a lot of money, and big actors like Tom Hanks started showing up to do lead roles in these films. So it's been stages, but what you see today in the world, more importantly though, I think what's interesting about Boy George and George Michael is, even though they were there, pop stars in that time, they still didn't come out right away, right? Because they could have lost their careers still, even though you started seeing the women step up, like the female role models that were openly talking about it and openly bringing it into the media. Princess Diana was huge for us in the gay community. I mean, the gay people really felt she was the princess, our princess, because she was one of the first people on TV to ever go into an AIDS ward and hold the hands of an AIDS man, without gloves.
Before they thought it was contagious, right?
Yeah. What's, I think, different today, I don't know, you guys tell me, is I think there are actually open gay people coming out before they've even become famous. You never saw that when we were young.
That's
one of the other movies I think that was, for me, was pivotal was, and we spoke about that, I think we might have watched it together as well, was Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. That's a movie that's 30 plus years. Excellent. I think it's, and it was one of the first movies that actually had drag queens and transgender people and all that sort of stuff, and they humanized them. They were empathetic, they were caring, they were struggling like everybody on the planet in terms of love, kids, struggles in life and all that sort of stuff. And for me, it was a really, really good movie, and it sort of elevated the LGBTQ plus community in terms of kind of understanding that demographics of people better.
They were way ahead of their time.
It really had an impact.
Way ahead. And it was
weirdly enough, because Australia has more restrictive laws than a lot of countries around gays.
Yeah, because it also, I remember watching it, also talks about Indigenous in Australia being trans and all that, right?
Yeah.
And so now, anyways, now it's so big and it's so good that they're creating a new version of it.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
there's a new one coming out. So it's good for the new gays because they're going to get to watch it. Because, I mean, I got to watch it because of my gay uncles, but us new gays don't really know about these movies, right? So
is it going to be called the same thing?
I think so. I'm not too sure. But yeah, they're refilming
It is a very important movie for the gay culture. It was quite iconic.
What was it called again?
It's Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Okay.
And it came out in early 90s, I think.
And I also think one of the reasons why it was such a celebration for the gay community was, one, it was just it is just on its own right. It's a brilliant film. Watch it. It's absolutely brilliant. But two, it won awards, big movie awards, and gays in movies never won awards, right? And so I think it even went to the Oscars as best foreign film nomination. If I'm correct, somebody will correct me on that. But yeah, it was the world had accepted it. It made a ton of money. It was a huge hit, and I'd probably say it was probably the really first big gay hit that it got that kind of accolades.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was one of the first movies that actually had drag queens, and they made them look in a really good, positive light, and they were relatable because they were dealing with struggles that everybody struggles with. I think the other person for me that's worth mentioning, if I can, is Madonna.
Oh, Madonna.
Madonna, for me, when she came out in the early 80s, just a couple of things I think are important. She was a huge ally for us in the LGBT community. She has done a lot for the AIDS. She has done a lot for youth, gay youth, and the bullying and all that sort of stuff.
Amazing, yeah.
She would mention things around AIDS and how you stay protective and all that sort of stuff on her albums.
Oh, really?
Vinyls. Yeah.
Wow.
She worked with a lot of gay artists. And so all that is really great, but she was also very innovative. Every time she came up with an album, it was new. It was playing in the club. She looked great. There was a lot of underground stuff that she would do, which was absolutely cutting edge at the time. And it's just a great artist, and she's still around, for God's sakes, which is amazing.
I mean, she's still doing shows today for the new gays. Yeah.
Goodness me.
I think it's actually really cool that you guys can say that you had, at least not when you were kids or teenagers, but at least when you guys got to the age where you started to accept yourself as gay, that you guys started to see gay media and gay allies like Madonna.
Because now we have it everywhere we look.
I mean, now it's, like Love Simon, I think started that new trend of like, let's just normalize gays in movies. And now they made a whole TV show after that called Love Simon. So that was a whole TV show about his life, whatever. Now there's like Heartstopper on Netflix, which is another massive one. Yes. So it's so good that young gays today get to grow up with that sex ed, which is meant for us. First off, a straight sex show.
Sex ed
they added the gay aspect as well. Yeah.
Well, everything they have
lesbian,
non-gender, transgender, bi in that show,
which is amazing. And people are watching it straight or gay and going, "This is good TV. Like this is amazing." Yeah.
There's other forms of media though that we in our generation, everywhere we look, we have newspapers. So we got the magazines such as Attitude, and then there's even the Attitude Awards, which is a ceremony promoting and celebrating everyone in the industry that's making a huge impact.
It's like our own Oscars.
Yeah.
Well, I think let's just also make a shout out to the fact that let's hope it stays this way and it grows, because there is a trend in America now to see things like movies and books being banned that have anything to do with LGBTQ. And it's a horrific trend in some of these states. And I think we can't be complacent in accepting that we have gotten this far, because we have to remember that, we don't want to go back. Right? We do not want to go back. And we always have to have new icons, and we always have to have new media that represent us.
But I was going to say, so what are the pop stars today that you see as sort of...
Well, just to back off quickly on that, and then I'll get into that. But so the listeners that are me and Ant's age will remember this. But there was so even before Love Simon, there was a really famous Disney show called Good Luck Charlie, okay? And on one of the episodes, the whole plot was like the mom was bringing her daughter to play with the other daughter, but then we find out that there's actually two moms and they're lesbian moms, and that was the extent. Like they didn't kiss, nothing. They just found out that there was two moms, they were lesbian. The outrage that caused in the U.S. One little mention there being two moms, not even the word lesbian, it was just two moms, the outrage it caused in the US. And that was in 2014.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. It's crazy.
What's the new show? There's a new Disney movie, no?
Well, now there's a lot. So now it's a lot better. But also the Disney movie, sorry, just mention one last thing, with the two boys. That isn't directly saying they're gay, but it was a first ever Disney, what's it called?
Depiction of gay.
Oh, this is so bad.
Luca?
Oh, Luca, yeah. Did you guys watch that?
No.
It's really heartwarming.
It's just to show the old gays how much there is now.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
kids can watch cartoons, and it's
Well,
okay.
actually, I mean, geez, you go on Netflix, you got a whole gay channel.
Yeah,
right?
a whole gay
you can actually
subcategory, yeah.
actually put gays
Oh,
in
really?
search engines and things show up now.
Yeah.
Even
You know what I
Spotify,
mean?
and we're doing really well on this podcast.
Yeah, I think we're number
Right.
one on that. So back to your question. So I think there's just so many, not only gay artists and gay performers now, but there's so many like gay allies. So like now we have like our own Madonnas, and that's like
Okay.
I don't know, like so many people. Like
I feel like Taylor Swift has a high gay audience.
yeah, she's very big for
Yeah.
very big advocate. I
Do
mean,
you guys,
SZA.
being in the social media world like you guys have been for so long, are your gay icons still movie stars and music, or are they becoming influencers?
so there aren't that many gay ally influencers. Like my first one to come said is that straight
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like Trisha Paytas. Like she's
Trisha,
like
yeah.
she's a really big ally. But like there are a lot of gay influencers or lesbian influencers or trans. So
Yeah.
you know they kind of make their own space. I don't think straight people want to be like, okay, well I'm this massive ally,
Yeah.
and make that their whole brand because there's enough of that. But
We
yeah.
just saw SZA at Hyde Park, and she said "Happy Pride." So like, it's nice to
Yeah.
have like artists out there
Well, yeah.
openly supporting, and I don't think that. I think it's all over the place. They're open to be allies, and whereas back then when you guys, it was very select few,
Yeah.
and if not
I
non-existent.
mean,
Oh, and
Billie
I
Eilish
don't think. Yeah.
brought a pride flag on like most of her shows.
She just came out as well, didn't she?
Yeah, she came out as bi. So yeah, I mean, big celebrities are still coming out.
Huge
You know?
celebrities.
And I think I think now it's more acceptable. I think there is still some fear. Like I'm gonna tell a story, but I'm not gonna mention names just because I don't want them to get in trouble. But basically, I have a friend who's in a boy band, and he is gay
oh.
to his friends and his family, but he cannot. His management won't let him come out as gay because it'll ruin the boy band effect, and they might lose their girl audience because he's.
Well, welcome to Ricky Martin's life.
I'll tell you after. I'll tell you. But anyways, yeah.
yes.
So so that's today. Like
Yeah.
he can't come out as
Yeah.
gay because his management is like, no, don't come out because that will ruin
It is.
our reputation.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen a number of artists during our times, but it's interesting to hear that that stuff is still happening today. That there's that sort of stigma where artists can't be themselves really, which is a real shame.
Same
to
in
be
sport
honest.
as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is,
Yes.
and actually, as you get older, that stuff most of the times just sort of comes out.
Look,
and then,
I
and
think
then you
it's-
have to deal with it.
I think it's
later.
so important that we encourage these people in these industries to keep doing it, even in the face of stuff like that, because when these people come out, I mean, look at how important it was to us, all of us, the four of us sitting in this room, to have people to look up to, and that they can, at a very particular time in our life, to have a role model. It really is transformative in your journey in coming out. I think we should, let's hope that we keep moving forward and that the world keeps getting better, but we should encourage people, to keep doing it. Please keep coming out and being icons for the next generation because they need it.
Do you know if he challenges his management around that? Just out of curiosity, or maybe you don't have to answer.
Does his management know?
I think he told them, and they
Got bad
kind
reaction.
of just said like this, listen, it's fine, but like don't let it come out,
Well.
type thing. Yeah.
It's a shame.
Shame.
And I feel like it happens, and people are more protective over their careers than.
They prefer to make money.
But actually, it could be down to survival,
I
though.
just thought like, if one of the boys came out as gay, that's great because now it brings in a gay audience as well as the girls, because the girls can still like the other 4 guys that are straight.
Yeah, that's
or whatever,
why I'm surprised in this day and age that it's that big a deal.
I'm sorry, but what happened to Lil Nas? He was a closeted country singer. He came out as gay.
I think he was always gay.
Oh, sorry. Well,
yeah, it's why he was so big. He was like the first ever. Also, another icon, the first ever country, not only country but person of color artist who's gay, Lil Nas. And he's such a massive advocate.
Holy shit! Look what he's done. He's crushed it. And he's been living his authentic self, right?
So I have some names. I want to know if you youngers know who this is. Do you know who Freddie Mercury is?
Oh, of course.
Okay. These are trailblazers, by the way. Do you know who Ziggy?
David
Do you know who Ziggy is?
Do you know David Bowie is?
David Bowie.
Yeah.
So I asked my mom, but he wasn't gay.
So he was so Ziggy, he had an icon on stage. He had a character he used to play on stage called Ziggy Dust.
Ziggy Stardust.
Ziggy Stardust. He was one of the very first people actually to start bringing non-gender, transgender kind of stuff to his performance, and he opened the door for people like Boy George and Freddie Mercury.
He was
really trailblazing.
He was very experimental. So he had this character called Ziggy Stardust, which was like a big star, and he was, from memory, was dressed in sort of this metallic tight suit, and it was very androgynous. Okay. If that makes sense, and it was very sort of futuristic and all that sort of stuff. But he nobody, at the time, no rock bands did that. So he was very confident in that. He was a great songwriter, all that sort of stuff. But his whole kind of look and makeup and all that sort of stuff.
He wore full makeup on his face.
Yeah.
Also, even like, let's just say he is straight. Like, let's say he was. That's still good that he paved that path for Boy George, like you were saying, and all these other people.
Absolutely.
Ally. That's what allies do.
That's an ally, yeah.
Do you know Pat Benatar?
No.
No. You know her songs, I bet, because they're still playing.
Sing one.
His mother will know the song.
We were just dancing our little gay asses off to him or her. Or them.
The stage is not
We Are Young.
We Are Young.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, that's Pat Benatar.
Yeah. So she's lesbian?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I think she was an ally.
Just gay icon, right?
You guys had more allies than gay.
And they were mostly female.
Yeah, and we have more people that are actually gay than allies.
Yes.
Well, that goes to show the generational gap between coming out, being open with your sexuality or understanding.
And actually, it's funny because a different conversation, but at the start of today, we said, a lot of women listen to our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, thank God, because we owe them a lot as well. And like, as you guys are saying, all these people that paved the path were women. A lot of them were women for you guys. So that's just amazing. And they are such a big part of our community as well, in a way. And so we have a lot to be thankful
Every
for.
gay has their best female friend.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what we call them, but we have them.
No, they're called Homo Honeys now.
Homo Honey.
My Homo Honey.
I love it.
That's better than the term we had.
Yeah.
You guys used to call them fag hacks, am I right?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Terrible.
No, because we went through that in episode 1, I believe, or episode 2.
Yeah, that episode got cut.
Oh,
For a reason.
it?
No.
Did we never upload that? Oh, right, fine. Well,
Yeah,
anyway.
but it's interesting though that the women, because we have good friends of ours that actually religiously look at the show every Tuesday.
Oh.
They sip their glass of wine and they look at the show. They have an hour to sort of look at the show, and it's interesting that they obviously it's gay topics, but they can relate to a lot of the struggles and the topics that we talk about as women. Yeah, which is really great to see. Yeah,
I think it just goes back to like a point that I said I think a few episodes back, but like I think what some men hate, like straight men, is when they're homophobic or when whatever. What they don't like is not necessarily gay people. What they don't like is femininity, like as a whole. So I think women get so much fucking hate by these straight men.
I think you can have a really masculine gay man that they hate as well, but.
Yeah, but I just feel like we go through a lot of the same struggles.
We do.
And I think we get a lot of the... If someone hates women, they usually hate gays as well. Let's be honest, right? So we get the same amount of, like, not same amount, but like we get the same type of haters, right? Misogynistic, kind of like very straight countryside.
Macho.
Yeah. So I think that's why women like to listen to our podcast.
And I think women are, it's more, I could be wrong and I'm definitely generalizing, but I think women tend to be, it's easier for women to talk about emotions than for men generally.
Yeah,
and so you can see why that's sort of they like the content.
And we're both persecuted groups.
Yeah.
Both of us have had to fight for our rights to exist
yeah.
exactly as we want to exist in the world.
Exactly.
And
could not have said that better. Yeah.
Allies.
Guys, I want to quickly move topic. Well, stay on the same topic.
Oh.
But we just became our own pop icons this weekend.
Oh my god, yeah, I didn't tell you guys this. So, 2 days ago, Ant and I performed on a main stage.
The main stage at
in
Trafalgar Square.
Wow.
No, we're actually super honored. So it was Canada
nice.
Day. So as a Canadian living in London, it was amazing.
We didn't perform. I guess we did a speech on stage.
We did a
which was
speech
nice.
on stage. We were very gay.
Were you
we were
nervous?
gay icons that day.
Excellent.
Gay media.
Were you
Yeah.
And we
nervous?
did that for Pride, and then on main stage we did it for Canada Day.
Okay.
And we had Canada there,
Yeah, just some fun Canadian brands. We had poutine there, which was
the
amazing.
NHL as well, hockey. That throws back to you guys being Canadian. Remember the
Yeah.
NHL?
You guys know
I
what
remember-
sports are, right? But yeah, no, we were super nervous. And I think it's super nervous to be on a stage in front of that many people. So actually, that just kind of, to go back to our topic, it like big up to those allies that, put pride flags up in front of that big of an audience or say things about the queer community and like Madonna did, because it's so nervous to be on that stage in front of that many people. So honestly, good for those queer allies that were doing that on stages years ago when it wasn't even legal. But yeah, no, we were super nervous. And I think it's super nervous to be on a stage in front of that many people. So actually, that just kind of, to go back to our topic, it like big up to those allies that put pride flags up in front of that big of an audience or say things about the queer community and like Madonna did, because it's so nervous to be on that stage in front of that many people. So honestly, good for those queer allies that were doing that on stages years ago when it wasn't even legal. Okay, guys, talking about pop gay icons, I'd love to end today's episode by talking about who our dream guest podcast would be. And honestly, like, just as all four of us would only want members of the LGBTQ on here, or allies anyways. But so who's our dream guest?
Of anybody.
Yeah, anybody.
Dream guest on my
podcast. Don't let like the bar hit. Like,
I know who I'd want.
all right, who
They
you
have
go
to be
first.
alive. And it has to be
Yeah, it can't be.
Kylie Minogue.
Oh, that's a good one.
5 minutes in the room with
Wow.
Kylie Minogue chit-chatting. I think it would be the best fun ever.
We didn't mention her as well, but she is a big queer ally.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Okay, Frank.
I would say Madonna.
Madonna.
You're putting the bar high for this
You're
podcast.
Okay, so Kylie, I was already like, okay, this
Please,
is
Madonna, please.
Madonna. We're begging you.
All right, she's on. That sold it, guys.
I'm gonna go.
we chose straight women. Now you guys...
Yeah, I know, right? Okay. Well, I was gonna choose a straight girl, but I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna say Alan Carr. More realistic, really funny.
Love that.
Amazing entertainer. We would just be laughing the whole time with him.
best.
I love it.
Just gonna be dying with laughter by the end of that episode.
Yeah. Right. Who would your dream guest podcast icon be?
Who's like a gay? Oh, you know what? He's going to have to be an ally,
Yep.
and he has the most gay roles out of anybody, and I believe he's only in his 20s. His name is Nicholas Gitesks.
Yes.
He was in the
Greek name.
Yeah, sorry, there's no hope pronouncing
Red
that.
Royal.
Red, White, Royal, and Blue.
Yeah.
So he was one of the main actors in that. And he's also recently just got another role. But I just think he, as a straight man, he would give us a different dynamic.
And actually,
to all the others.
he's getting a lot of press because people are starting to tell him like you should stop playing gay roles.
No.
Yeah, so I think it'd be actually really cool to get him on and just get his.
And we covered that in a recent podcast, and we ended up just saying if you're good enough, and it was an equal and play,
just do it.
and it was equal ground, and everyone played equally, and you still got the role, then you deserve the role.
Amazing. Well, if you guys
Loved it.
enjoyed today's episode, give it a 5 stars or rate us, follow us so you don't miss any other episodes.
Do
coming up.
whatever you gotta do, honey. All right.
Do what you gotta do. And also, guys, in the comments of today's video, comment down who your gay pop icon awakening was. I'd love to kind of see who your guys' movies or TV shows or pop icons were. But yeah,
And without further ado, we'll see you in the next one.
bye.
Bye.